Welcome to the NBNU podcast, a space for real conversations about the issues that matter most to nurses in New Brunswick. I'm Joanne, and today we're kicking off our first full episode with two incredible leaders, Paula, NBNU president, and Catherine, our first vice president. We're talking about what's ahead for NBNU in 2026, the priorities, the challenges, and the opportunities for growth and connection. Paula and Catherine, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
So our members know you as leaders, but they may not know the journey that brought you here. Let's start with that. Paula, tell us a bit about your background, how long you've been a nurse, the work you've done, where you're from, and what led you into union leadership.
Great question, Joanne. Thanks for that. So this year actually marks my 30th year as being a registered nurse. So that's, as I reflect back on that, 30 years has taken me through a lot of different avenues as a registered nurse. I come from Bathurst, worked at Chaleur Regional Hospital, started my career there, medical, palliative, went to ICU, and then emerged right up until 2016 when I was elected as president of the New Brunswick Nurses Union. But I didn't go from a bedside nurse right into the role of president. I started very early on in my career. First year I was in nursing. I went to my first union meeting. Was voluntold at the time that they were looking for a vice president, and that's how I got involved. And then worked my way up through the ranks in my local, and then ran in 2003 and was the successful candidate for the New Brunswick Nurses Union provincial vice president. And I held that role for 13 years, always knowing that I was balancing both the love of bedside nursing, but also the love for the union world and the advocacy for better workspaces for myself, my coworkers, and future nurses. So basically, that was my journey to get me to where I am today, and I'm very thankful for all the support that I've received, especially right from nursing school, right into working in the hospital setting, and the support that I continue to get every day now in the role that I do representing the nurses of the province.
Great. Thanks, Paula. Catherine, how about you? What's your background? And what path brought you into your role as first vice president?
Thanks, Joanne. My career in nursing started a long time ago. I was an LPN, and then I went back to UMB to do my degree in nursing because the School of Nursings were closed. So I graduated from UMB in 2000. I attended my very first union meeting in September of 2000. And after that, I went to the annual meeting, and I was hooked. I had come from a union family. My dad was a member of what we called Cup W with the post office. And he encouraged me to attend these union meetings because he said the benefits and to be part of the collective was very important for my career. I haven't missed an annual meeting since 2000. In January 2001, I was elected as the vice president and grievance officer for Local 17 in St. John. So I've held an executive position since 2001. I've recently given up. I was the president, but when I took the role as first VP for New Brunswick, I gave that position up on the local executive. Most of my career has been spent in the emergency department. And now I'm very excited to begin my career here in the office as the first VP of the New Brunswick Nurses Union.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate you both sharing that. It gives listeners a sense of the experience and purpose you bring into these roles. So now that listeners have had a chance to get to know you a little bit better, let's shift into the year ahead. When you think about 2026, what's the word or theme that captures what this year means for NBNU?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can say it in one word, but I think the themes really are member engagement, communication, and connection. And that really flows through our strategic plan that the board of directors worked upon 3 years ago. It's still very pertinent today, if not more so with our new brand, and the outreach that we have to our members and really wanting them to feel engaged and connected, but also to be participants. This is their union. It's not my union or Catherine's union. This is the union made by the members. And so I think connection for me would be the big theme when we do everything. It's about how does it affect the members? How does, a member in, say, Bathurst or a member in Grand Manan feel connected to NBNU? So those are always the underlying themes to some of the decisions that the board of directors makes. And Catherine, maybe you can add?
Sure. We want our members to feel like they are the union. We aren't just an office in Fredericton. This year, we are intentionally returning to the basics. We're going to strengthen our foundation with their leadership skills, giving our local executives what they need to advocate with clarity and confidence, and reinforcing the importance of caring for themselves so they can continue to care for their colleagues and our members.
Great. Yeah, that gives a really strong sense of where the focus is as we enter the new year. So let's talk priorities. Members want to know, what are the top priorities for NBNU this year, and what's shaping those choices?
So as you know, 9,000 members, priorities are probably different for those 9,000 members. However, we have to look at the bigger picture and what is it that we can do organizationally to really touch the majority of our members. Not saying that everyone is going to feel that the priorities that we work upon is pertinent to them, but when we look at the big picture, and so one of the big things I want to point out, and it's a very great time for NBNU right now because we're in what's called the administrative period. Many of our members would recall we've been at the negotiating table, it seems like forever. We're hearing about retro being paid right now in Part 3 and retro being paid in our nursing homes and whatnot. But right now, with all 3 collective agreements being signed, we're in what's called the administrative period. And so during that administrative period is the important work that needs to get done from the committees that were negotiated in those collective agreements to get those up and running. Because without doing that work, then that was a waste of time, really, at the table. And those letters that we negotiate in those committees really come from the surveys that we receive, the negotiation conferences that we held, going around hearing from our members. So really getting those committees up and running. And Catherine mentioned earlier about building our base and our foundation. And I think that is really, essential for us. With the new brand that we have just introduced in October, it really is about a brand of members. The members are the union, and it's trying to build that base stronger so that we really have a solid ground to stand on and to really come together as an organization so that when we are advocating on behalf of the 9,000 members, the 9,000 members, or the majority of them, can see themselves in the advocacy work that we are doing. I don't know, Catherine, if you want to add on to some of that.
Yes, for sure, Paula. Thanks for including me in this part. Our education is one of our big priorities for our members. Members have been asking for more ways to communicate and more education, and we have heard them. And, I'll be touching base a little bit about that here in the next little bit.
Yeah, great. Thanks. That helps paint a picture of where we are heading long term. So advocacy is always at the center of NBNU's work. For 2026, what are the key advocacy areas you'll be concentrating on? And what challenges facing nurses are front of mind for you right now?
So the advocacy work, I guess, what I will say to that, it's not a one and done. Advocacy is really the bedrock of what we do every day. So although we have campaigns and big pushes for our members to get involved, our advocacy work really includes safe workplaces, nurse-patient ratios, respectful workplaces, increased hours of care in our long-term care facilities. Also, bolstering the roles of the registered nurse, the nurse practitioner, the licensed practical nurse, using our public health nurses to their full scope within the communities, keeping our communities safe, preventing diseases, the spread, just the teaching component of all that. Another big advocacy push for us, and it's not only this year, it's been going on for many years, is to reintroduce registered nurses and licensed practical nurses, for that matter, into the school systems. We're hearing from the education system more and more mental health issues with the students that are entering our school system. We know decades ago we had school nurses, and now they're in there sporadically, and it's more about, immunization and sporadic clinics. And we're saying, what better way to support our next generation and our youth of today, but by having registered nurses and licensed practical nurses in those school systems on a daily basis to create that safe space for them. But really, advocacy, it's sometimes bigger than that. Right now, we have a national advocacy push on pharmacare. and the reasons why we need a pharmacare program, not only here in New Brunswick, but across Canada, because nurses see it firsthand when folks have to make a decision whether they, need to pay for their drugs and their medicines to stay out of the healthcare system, or they need to pay rent and pay their heating bills or buy groceries. We know that the food insecurity is real today. We know that housing insecurity is a real issue. But at the base of all of that too is healthcare. And so pharmacare, believe it or not, our nurses sometimes will say, like, how does that affect me? It affects us in the way that we deliver our healthcare to New Brunswickers. So advocacy happens every day at every opportunity and at every level of government, whether that's municipal, provincial, or federal. We're doing it. And so being well versed in all of these areas is key to making sure that our message can get across, because sometimes you have a very brief moment in time with a decision maker. And so you need to be able to be succinct and to the point to sell the reasons why nurse-patient ratios is important, right? It's not about saving money. This is about better outcomes for our patients, and it's for safe work environments for our nurses. So those are some pretty big titles and big topics for advocacy. But I think those are some of the things that really drive us forward as we move towards more advocacy for nurses and for healthcare in general.
Yeah, I agree. And I thank you for stating it that way. I think it's really important for members to know, where the energy is going and what we're keeping track of closely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes we forget it's not just about the labor relations piece that unions are fighting for. It is about all of the other ancillary things that sometimes we forget. And we only see what's really in front of us. So that's the role of the union, is to make sure that we have those blinders are off and that we see the big picture, and we partner with those that could really help us move some of those files forward as well. And that's the beauty of belonging to, say, the New Brunswick Federation of Labor and the Canadian Federation of Nurses Unions and the Canadian Labor Congress, to make sure that our advocacy work is not done solely and singularly by us, but with other allies and partners that have a deep-rooted passion for good healthcare systems across this country, and the ability to deliver that safely. So I think that's some of the big things, the big ticket items that we will be spending a lot of time, effort, and energy on in 2026.
And as I think Catherine alluded to, education is a big priority going forward. And I'd just like to take a moment to turn our heads to that. With education and engagement being such big parts of our work, what new opportunities do you think members could expect this year? And how can they take part?
So education has become the role and the portfolio for the first VP. So I'm really happy for Catherine to explain, what her year is going to look like going ahead, and the ideas that she has for education outreach to the members. So Catherine, this is your ballpark.
Great. Thanks, Paula. Members, we have heard you. You've asked for more ways to communicate with NBNU and with leadership and with each other. So what we've started, we started this week, I guess it was. We had quarterly meetings for our local executives, and we've done it by bargaining unit. So we've had quarterly meetings with the hospitals Part 3, with the nursing homes, with community care, and with the nurse managers. So that was an opportunity to meet with me as your first VP, to meet with your unit representative, talk about some of the issues that's going on in the workplace, and then we can work together. There could be a solution up in Bathurst for an issue that St. John is having right now. So they started this week. I'm hopeful that as we go forward, we'll have more attendance. We also hosted sessions for local treasurers and the local Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee representatives, so they feel supported, because not everybody gets an education or a lesson plan on how to do those two roles. So we want the members to know that we're here for support. We have our new website up. Eventually, we'll have education courses online for people to do at their own leisure, and they'll be able to record and, probably print out a certificate that says, I participated in this course, and this course. We have our new SharePoint sites for all local executives, so they can get in and save their local information on a secure site, and they can interact with each other. So they can talk about big issues, they can talk about little issues, they can talk about some successes that they've had in their local that might help a different local. And we also have our leadership and action course planned for March. Our French course has opening and our English course has a waiting list already. So we may look at having another course to support all the members who are showing interest. Joanne and I have talked, about what our education could look for, like for executive council. We're very fortunate to be hosting Atlantic Labor School this year. So all of our local presidents and probably some local executives will get to participate in that. So we've heard you, and we are trying to find ways that work for our members to feel engaged and to feel supported.
Yeah, it's a big year of education. And I think, we'd be remiss if we don't say that education is really the knowledge and the base. And so we're really putting a lot of energy, effort into that file. And I'm so thankful to have you, Catherine, in the office working with Joanne on this to make sure that we have relevant education for our members. We have pertinent education. We have education that's accessible, right? We know that it's not always easy for everybody to come into Fredericton. And sometimes we have to look at maybe going into the communities or offering virtual. And so, I hope our members recognize that we're doing everything that we can in all avenues to ensure that they have access to really great NBNU education.
Great. That sounds great. Thanks, Paula and Catherine. So if we're sitting here 1 year from now, looking back on 2026, what does success look like to you? What's one goal you hope to achieve and one you feel confident we will accomplish?
Well, 12 months from now, I wish I had a crystal ball, number one. We've set out some lofty goals. We really have. But I think it's the connection, right? If we can connect with one more nurse today than we did yesterday, then that's success. Success isn't a checkbox either, right? And so it's not linear. It's an ongoing process. I think we're going to have some bumps in the road along the way. We're going to learn. Everything's not going to be perfect first round. But I think hoping in 2027, when we're sitting here having the same conversation and we look back and we say, you know what, we were capable of producing some really great educational opportunities. Our members were able to participate. Our members are feeling engaged and involved. And most importantly, I'm hoping that members feel proud of NBNU and that they're part of an organization that's really striving on learning from our grassroots. So it's, we're growing and we're learning together, and that, that's the only way that we're going to be a very strong advocate for nurses and for healthcare in New Brunswick, is if we really see it as an us versus them. We're in this together. And I hope, when folks hear that both Catherine and I, we come from the shop floor, right? If we're going to talk labor talk, we come from the shop floor. This has been our passion for many years, and we bring those real lived experiences to the conversations that we have with decision makers who, unfortunately, many have not come from the shop floor. So it's up to us to make sure we're able to portray what a real shift, what a real day, what a real night, what a real weekend looks like in the life of a licensed practical nurse, an NP, a registered nurse in different domains. And that's the beauty of our board of directors, is that we represent, and we have representatives from long-term care. We have an LPN, we have an NP, we have community, we have a nurse manager, we have a nurse supervisor. That's our second BP. I think when I look at other member organizations across the country, I'm very proud of where we sit in that realm, because we do have some uniqueness. And so it's a really long answer to a question that I think deserves a long answer, but success is that we're always striving for more and we're always striving for better. Catherine, do you want to add to that long-winded answer that I gave?
I sure do. So to me, success means that we have improved communication, we've got a stronger unity, and we have a workplace where our members feel respected, protected, and empowered. We are always looking for ways to improve, and every member deserves to feel supported and heard by leadership and by each other.
And I think that speaks to our brand too. Right? With the introduction of our new brand and the way that we talk with our members, show up to our members, support our members and have our members be supportive of each other. I think that's going to be a measurement that we have to look at in a year's time. Did we succeed in what we were planning to do with this new brand? Because it's more than just a logo, right? This new brand really is about the members and them feeling safe within the walls and their ability to show up for one another and be supportive of one another. So I think it's a multitude of things that we can talk about what success looks like. But at the end of the day, it really is about, are we still looking to the future and we still have things that need to be accomplished, because I don't think it's a one and done.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you both. And I think hearing your hopes for the year really brings everything full circle. So before we close, I'd like to end with a final thought from each of you, if we could. And that is, what message would you like to share with members as we start 2026 together?
And my message, I guess, is never give up. That's always been my motto, is there's always hope, and to always look at that glass as half full. And people say I might be a bit of an optimist, and I think we have to be optimistic, in order for us to really thrive and strive for better. I've often said it takes a whole village. It's not a one-person show, and so looking to 2026. Please be kind to yourself too. To our members, you've been through a lot these last few years, pandemic, short staffing. We know we live in a time right now where everything is instantaneous, or people want it to be instantaneous. And we know that you're doing the best that you can with the tools that you're given by your employers. So please be kind to yourself. And we're here for you. We're here with you. Yeah, and I really hope that 2026 is a good year for all of us. Catherine?
My closing thoughts would be, we are all the New Brunswick Nurses Union, all 9,000 members, and when we stand united, we can strengthen our voice and we can protect each other and the care that New Brunswick deserves.
Thank you both again. To our listeners, thank you for joining us for this first episode of the NBNU podcast. Stay connected. Watch for updates on our website and our social channels. And thank you for everything you do for the people of New Brunswick every single day.